There we go. Good morning, everyone. Let me get our slides rocking and rolling here, and we can do a proper introduction without the we'll start at 10 a.m. FDOT Production Support CAD Office. Good morning and happy Thursday to each and every one of you. I hope all is well with you where you are today. My name is Brian, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the next session in the FDOT CAD Office webinar series. Today is Thursday, October 31st. Happy Halloween. The grand day has arrived, and the kids cannot wait for tonight and all of the festivities. Last night, I was building the PVC frame around the trailer and stringing all the lights on it and zip tying skeletons, and so it's going to be a great trick or treating night tonight. So, this morning's webinar is going to be FDOT Connect 2023 CAD Compliance Delivery Checklist Tools, and your presenters are great 1-2 punch from the CAD office, Matt Sexton and James Griffith. I do have to let everybody know, full disclosure, this presentation, along with all the latest schedule of our webinars, was developed for the 2024 flood, which, of course, we know, unfortunately, was waylaid by Hurricanes Helene and Milton. So if you hear any kind of a mention of that, that's why that is, and it is pre-recorded. All attendees will be in listen-only mode for this webinar. Please submit any questions you have to the question dialog box. We will attempt to answer questions as we go, and time permitting may have a QA session at the end of the presentation. It is our intention to record this presentation and post it to the CAD office website. That resource is the same website in which you accessed the registration link for the webinar. So fdot.gov/CAD/main/webinars/FDOK, you know where it is. Yeah. For this training, continuing education credit will be issued to PEs who attend the live session and who attend the session in its entirety. Certificates will be delivered to the email address in which you registered and logged into the webinar with, but only if the duration fulfills the required allotted time. So we're going to try to make sure that we do that and that happens for you. But right now, I am going to turn it right on over to Matt and James. Stand by.
Good morning. My name is Matt Sexton with the Florida Department of Transportation's CAD office. As I said in my previous presentation, I'm glad to be here today even though I'm not actually here. I'd like to thank everyone for working with us and attending these virtual training sessions as FDOT assists in the recovery and relief efforts in Florida and North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. I'll do my best, as always, to make sure this presentation is both educational as well as somewhat entertaining and engaging. So to that end, this will be a candid and unedited video full of gaffes, bloopers, and improvisational tangents. It will not be polished. Either way, welcome to FDOT Connect 2023 CAD Compliance Delivery Checklist Tools. That is a long title. That is a lot to say. Today I'll be focusing on the tools and workflow for the FDOT QC tools and project validation. I'll be joined by my colleague James Griffith later on in this presentation for some of the demonstrations and discussions of additional tools. There should be a moderator present in the room with us today who will be glad to take any questions at the end of the presentation. But to answer the usual questions, yes, this presentation will be available from the FLUG website after the conference, and this video should presumably also be available for download and viewing. Quality control and CAD compliance. What can you expect to learn today? I'll be going over the following two topics with more detail given to the latter topics rather than the former: quality control plans and the FDOT Connect 2023 QC tools and workflow. Chapter 9 of the CAD manual and Section 124 of the FDOT Design Manual, or FDM, cover the topic of quality control and quality control plans. State law mandates that districts should create a quality control plan for each FDOT project. The FDM addresses the concepts of quality control and quality assurance in Section 124. The purpose of these processes is to ensure complete and compliant deliverables that meet or exceed industry standards of the purpose for which the deliverables are intended. That is quite a string of words as well. But yes, to ensure complete and compliant deliverables that meet or exceed industry standards of the purpose for which the deliverables are intended. Repetition is an excellent way to learn. Section 124.1 explains that quality control is the process of checking and revising deliverables to be sure they are compliant and meet the required standards. And quality assurance is the process of verifying and enforcing these standards. So you can kind of see which process falls under whose responsibility. Context clues, what can I say? The FDOT CAD manual also covers the topic of QA and QC as well, pretty much saying the same things that the FDM says and citing the same laws. The CAD manual also lists the three main tools used in the QC process. The three main tools. We're going to talk about quite a few tools today, but the main ones in question that the CAD manual mentions are QC Inspector, QC Project Inspector, and Project Validator, and I will talk more about those later. In fact, I'll start talking about them right now. The FDOTConnect2023 CAD software suite includes a number of QC tools on the FDOT ribbon. These tools are located under the Quality Assurance group on the FDOT ribbon, and they include QC Quick, QC Project, QC Stop, Reference Checker, Remove Missing References, and GCS Reporter. Of course, these names vary slightly from the formal names of each tool or the names of the actual programs, but I'll discuss that as I talk about these tools individually. Obviously, you have to shorten the names of certain tools when you put the label on the shortcut for the ribbon, so it'll all nicely fit on the ribbon. That's part of the reason why we use the term QC instead of saying quality control every single time we say it. Acronyms and initialisms. They're two different things, but they function the same. Learned something today. What can I say? Anyways, moving on. QC Quick or QC Inspector or Connect QC Inspector, any of those names, is a tool that is accessed from the Quality Assurance Tool Group on the FDOT ribbon, and that checks the CAD compliancy of the active file. If the file meets compliancy, a dialog will appear indicating that. It also lists the number of elements scanned, which I presumably think is a nice thing to know, right? If the active file fails compliancy, another dialog appears, and inevitably you've seen this dialog before. It indicates the non-compliant elements and allows the designer to modify the level and or attributes of those elements to correct whatever the issue is. QC Project or QC Project Inspector scans all of the files in a project or in a discipline folder and creates a report containing the compliancy percentages of each file. If the report is run on the entire project, the report will be saved automatically in the meta info folder of the project. However, if a discipline level folder is selected for reporting, it will create a discipline level report and save that in the ENG data folder of the discipline folder. If a project level and discipline level report, I was going to write this script slightly differently. Now I have to change it. A project level and discipline level report can exist in the same project. Project Validator will combine all of that available information and report on the most recently modified information available. That's to say, if you have a project level report that contains information on the entire project, but you have a newer discipline level report for, say, geotech, Project Validator will read the project level report and then incorporate the information from the geotech discipline level report, since that information replaces the information contained in the project level report. Does that make sense? If the project level report, however, is newer, it's going to ignore that discipline level report. I'll talk more about Project Validator later on in this presentation. QC stop. It does exactly what it sounds like it does. QC stop temporarily stops the QC inspector from running when you close a file. That's the shortest slide in this presentation, I think. Reference checker, or project submittal reference checker, will scan a selection of files and report on missing references or reference files that exist outside of the project. This report can then be used to decide whether to detach those reference files or otherwise correct the problem. My colleague James Griffith will be discussing and demonstrating this tool in depth later on in this presentation. He's actually already discussed the tool, and I'm just have to edit the video and include his video into. Anyways, it'll be the magic of video. The Remove Missing References tool, or Detach Missing References Reference Files tool, provides an intuitive dialog to run a batch process to remove missing reference files from the selected files to process. This is designed like a lot of our batch process tools, and it should be fairly simple to use. This can, of course, be used to detach missing reference files that were discovered to be missing when running the Missing References report using the reference checker tool that I mentioned on the previous slide. And finally, the GCS reporter, or Coordinate System Report, is a batch process tool that allows you to select a folder of the project, a folder at the project or discipline level. Wow, my script is just fantastic. The GCS reporter, or Coordinate System Report, is a batch process tool that allows you to select a folder, whether it's at the project level or discipline level, and check that the correct GCS, or Global Coordinate System, is set in each of those files. James will also be discussing and demonstrating that tool as well, so it's totally okay that I stumbled over that explanation. It scans your files to check the coordinate system. Project Validator is the final step in the QC process. I think I said last but not least, or finally on the previous slide, Project Validator is the final step in the QC process. This tool is launched outside of your Bentley Connect Edition application and the FDOT work mode as a standalone application. The launch shortcut for Project Validator is located in that FDOTConnect2023 folder on your desktop. And now I'm going to go through a brief demonstration of some of these tools and how they work.
So I'm going to show you a quick overview of how to use the reference checker and GCS report. They can be found under the FDOT tab, under Quality Assurance. And there's the reference checker and the GCS report. So we're going to open the reference checker. Let me just open that one more time. Now I'm going to browse to a folder that I know has some errors in it. And you can unselect stuff, you can invert your selection, or you can use the select all. And we can go ahead and hit the run button. It's going to pull up our report. As you can see, we're missing a line style here, and we have a couple of files with missing references. So one of the reasons that you can get the file outside of project is if for whatever reason you have a file that's being referenced and it's on a server somewhere else, or on your desktop and not actually in the file folder for the project. Another reason you can get it is if you used an absolute path to the file and not a relative path. And I'll show you how to look for that and how to fix that. We have a missing line style, and we have no missing fonts. So one thing to note about the missing fonts is in the project, when you create this report, if there is any missing fonts in here, Those missing fonts will continue to be in the report that is designed that way, so that at any time anybody needs to recreate this, they know which fonts they need to load. So I'll show you where to put your missing line styles and missing fonts, and that'll be under your project and under the symbology. So if you have any custom fonts, custom line styles, things of that nature, place them here. That way when the project is packaged up, all that information can be used to recreate the drawing as it's supposed to be. Alright, so now let's go ahead and look at how we can find these missing references. The file name is shown right here, and we'll go find that. First, I'm going to make a copy of this report by clicking the export. We will go to our project and save this. It'll be handy for a couple different reasons to reference back to it, and I'll show you that as well. So now we can close this. Close that. We're going to pull up our file. As you can see here, we have our different references that are missing and our missing line style. Let me pull this off the screen for a little bit. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Open. We're going to navigate to our project, and the missing missing references are one's located in the drainage and the other two are located in the geotech. And we can see that right here. So let's go ahead and open the drainage. Give it a second to load. Alright, looks like we have our file open. And let's see. The reference is in the default 3D model, so let's go ahead and move over to that. Okay. Now let's go up to our attach tool. And it's saying it cannot find the survey file. Looks to be fine here. One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of times when you get this error but the file is actually there, this is that absolute path versus relative path issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click on the file. We're going to browse for the file, and we're going to save relative path. So it was pointing at it, but it was not using that relative path. So we'll click Open and OK. We're going to do the same thing to the other one. Same thing, browse, save relative path, click Open, click OK, and we should be good there. Let's see what else we have. So that should have taken care of that. Now we can look at the geotech file. We'll click Open, go back up one, go to geotech, and it is this file. So there we go, finally loaded. Now what we can do, again, grab our spreadsheet. We can see outside the file, it's under the default model. So verify we're in the default model. We are in the default model. Go to our attachment, spreadsheet again. We can see that it is the GD we can see that it's this file that we're looking for, which is this one here. And it is, in fact, outside of our project. So all we need to do is go back up to our FDOT, grab this file, and then place it in the correct folder that it's supposed to go to, and then reset our links by browsing to it. Notice save relative path is already set, so that's great. You don't have to do that. We can close it, and that will take care of that. So what I can do now is I'm just going to stick it in here. I'm not 100% sure where that exactly goes. I think it's supposed to be in the survey file, but again, this is just an example. So we're going to click out, go back to our project. That file is now in here. We can click open, click OK, and that should be taken care of. Need to go to the default 3D and make that change as well. We can do that. So that should have taken care of all of that. I'm just going to open up our blank file again so I can run the report. Again, it doesn't matter, it's a preference. And look at that, we've gotten rid of all of our issues and missing references. Now, let me show you how you can find your missing line style in case you want to make a change to the line style or if you need more information on what it is. So, same thing, we're going to pull up our Excel file, go to the missing line styles. We can now see that it is under that alignment and under the default. So we'll go ahead and browse there. So out of these two, you might not be able to tell the difference, but there is a slight difference. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to miscellaneous tools. We're going to go to the select element by ID. That ID is this number here, which is 1470. I'm going to do 1470 and find it. As you can see, it has selected it. Go to the properties, and that line style is not found. So again, if you're running into this issue or you have this as a line style that was custom and it needs to go with the project, all you have to do is take that information and throw it here in the symbology folder. and same with your fonts. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the GCS reporter. So what we're going to do here is we're going to select our folder. Works very similar to the reference checker. We'll click Run after selecting our folder. You can see we have all of these files with our coordinate systems. So I'm going to select a different one. Let's try this webinar. We can run this report. There we go. We got a few that are missing. So again, you need to be very careful with this as far as using this tool to massively set things. So you can use one at a time. Select a row, right click, select coordinate system. Move this over a little bit, and we can actually set our coordinate system. If you need to massively set these, you can hold Shift and click. That will allow you to select all of these. Once they're selected, you right click, select coordinate system, and we can change that to north and click select. Give it a few seconds. It's actually going through each one of those drawings and setting that coordinate system. We have updated those. We have not updated these yet. I can do the exact same thing. Click there, click here. And I can also use the file and use this if I don't want to right click. Same thing. Select north. Open those files. Now we're all green and all good. And that is it.
And now a demonstration of QC Project and Project Validator. Of course, no presentation would be complete without my cat Eugene here on my desktop. You can locate the FDOTConnect2023 folder and launch Open Roads Designer in FDOT mode. It is, of course, opening on my other screen. Oh, drag that over. We're going to select Custom Configuration, the FDOT workspace, select our project. Because we're running QC Project and it's going to detect if any files have been modified, we want to open up the files read-only before running QC Project. So select Browse, locate the blank file, and then select the little drop down here next to Open and select Open Read Only. This takes just a minute to open the file. This way, with the file opened read-only, it won't be modified during the process of running Project Validator, and everything will show up as being correct and not modified since the QC project was run. Of course, a little error message there that doesn't mean anything. And select the FDOT tab. I mentioned before the QC Quick and QC Stop options. James, of course, has talked about the reference checker and GCS reporter. Let's run QC project. And as I mentioned previously, you can run this on a discipline level folder, and it will generate the report in that discipline folder. If you have only a partial project QC report in the meta info folder, Project Validator will then look to the discipline folder reports for information about the discipline level files. Select Browse.
locate our work set in question, select OK, and run QC Inspector Project. It's going to batch through all of those files and generate that report. And it doesn't take too long. But if you have a larger project, it's not a bad idea to maybe go get a cup of coffee or a snack. Take a real quick break. Okay, we're almost done there. Of course, the servRD file takes a little while. And it opens up the QC project report. Let's take a look at this. Now, of course, being a text file, it's not particularly easy to just at a glance digest what's going on here. But we can see most of my files have passed. Do I have anything that did not pass? I have one that failed. Okay, which one is that? That is a file that I've just been doing some testing in and have clearly not been following the standards. But hey, still 63% compliant despite the fact that I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Okay, got one that's 48. That is a detail model. That's not my file. I'm not sure what's going on. Another model. Those are things that need to be looked at. A couple more. Structures file. That might have been something that I was just doing some doodling in. And then we have one with an invalid file name. Interesting. And one in which no graphical elements were found. Okay, we can just close this report because it is saved in the meta info folder. If you go to Explore Directories Current Work Set, you'll find in the meta info folder there is that QC project report, or project QC report. Let's close out of Open Roads and run Project Validator. Pretty simple process of project open, browse to the project, and locate your project there. Click OK. And as you can see, it runs through that QC report and displays it in a much more visually appealing manner. If it's green, it passes. Super simple. If it's red, it does not pass. If it is neither red nor green, then it's something that was not checked by the QC project and therefore does not need to be red or green. And you can look at the specific folders for each discipline. And if it's red, that just means that there are files in that folder that don't pass. It doesn't mean that the entire folder is bad. And then you go ahead and create report. That's going to create an HTML export of the report. Easy to read. You'll notice, like I mentioned before, about invalid file name for this one file. And then it's showing the other files that were below 90% compliance. And then these are the files with no issues. And it shows those percentages there, even though they pass. And then these are those files that were neither red nor green. And those are the non-design files in the project. Of course, we have the project properties. Oh, it doesn't exist. So you should have a project properties XML file that would be delivered by either your prime, who got it from the district, or it's supplied by the district, either the CAD manager or your district project manager. That's exported through our Create Project tool. With the Create Project tool, if you're not connected to the FDOT network with FDOT credentials, you can't generate your own XML, so we have to generate that and send that to you. And that is the Project Validator report. That is automatically saved in the Meta Info folder. But let's go ahead and do a report using just the discipline level reporting. So I'll show you how that works. Let's launch Open Roads again. And of course it's opening on my other screen. There we go. And let's open that blank file as read-only again. And of course that takes just a minute to do. There we go, loading up resources. There are some commands that are run when a file is open that can't be run if the file is open read-only. That's fine. Just once again, looking at that error message. And we're going to go to Explore Directories, Current Work Set, go to the Meta Info folder, locate both of these, delete them, and let's run QC Project. And we're going to run it on just the roadway folder. And click OK. I'm not sure if the sound of the cat meowing is going to make it onto the recording, but Evelyn here is trying to get my attention. Okay, so here is just the roadway project, and you see it's appended roadway because you can't have duplicate file names in your project. So you have project QC report -roadway. Let's close that out. Let's go look and find out where that went. Go to the roadway folder. And it is as expected in the ENG data folder. Okay, let's run that again on some other parts of the project. Let's see, for example, do I have anything in? Let me find out what, I had structures, didn't I? Okay, let's do structures. It's going to run through those structures files nice and quick. And of course, it appends the -structures to the file name. And if we go and look for that in the structures folder, we'll find that in the ENG data. There's your QC report. Okay. Now, I think I have files in other folders, but let's just run Project Validator and see those two reports get picked up by Project Validator. I'm not sure if not having all of the files listed in the project report is going to give us any interesting errors. I can't think of that off the top of my head, but we'll find out. So opening that, opening that. Okay, great. So check this out. This is interesting. Stuff that's in the geotechnical and in the survey folder, which we did not run, doesn't exist in the QC report, but exists in the project. That's the error telling you, of course, that that file does not have a report on it. There's not a report that contains that file. So it's finding the file, but not finding it in the report. You can see, of course, that it's picking up everything in roadway. I thought we had some structures. It's showing, okay, the structures files were the ones that weren't passing anyway, so that's why they're not up here in the green. You can see down here, it's not giving us the doesn't exist error. It's giving us the less than 90% error. So You can see those are not in the report, and of course it picks up all the other non-design files down here as well. You see that I didn't run drainage, doesn't exist in QC report. Of course, the solution to that is, once again, to launch open roads. I'm just going to run it on the whole project again and show you what happens when you have multiple reports in the project. It's going to know which report to look at. Opening that read only, taking a minute to do that. Take just a minute here, loading up the resources. Oh hey, the error message popped up on my other screen. That's neat. I have no idea why that happened. Okay, close that. Right, we can go back to QC project. Gonna browse for the root of the project. Hit that and click OK, and it's going to run through that. And of course this means we're going to have a report that has roadway files in it, a report that has structures files in it, and then a report that has everything in the entire project in it. And it's almost done. There we go. Okay, that's the entire project report. Let's go back to Project Validator. And once again, we're going to browse to the project. And click OK. And you can see now it doesn't have any of those files that say exists in project but doesn't exist in the report. So it is reading from all of those. And we create our report. And it's right there. And of course, just to show you that it's automatically placed in there, we've got our, whoop, that's the wrong project. There we go, right there, the Project QC report. So that is how you run Project QC and Project Validator to create your project and discipline level reports and your overall Project Validator report. If you have any questions, the moderator here in the room should be able to field those questions for you. And of course, if you have further questions, I'd like to point out we do have at the CAD office website a new portal for support. So if you go to the CAD office website at www.fdot.gov/CAD and scroll down to CAD support request right here, CAD support request. Click on CAD support request, and then you'll use the external login. It should automatically go to external login if you're not connected to the FDOT network. If you don't have a user ID set up yet for the portal, it's really easy to register. You click on register. It's going to ask you for your first name, your last name, your email, and what firm you work for. And if that's not listed, you can then click on the account not listed. That's just fine. Really easy. It sends you an email to confirm your email address, and then it's based on the software ServiceNow, which is software that a lot of companies are using for their technical support ticketing and tracking those tickets. So it should be pretty intuitive. It's not a complicated form to fill out. We have a lot less information required than you'd expect. Just, what software are you using and what's your question. So that's a great way to get a hold of us. We're trying to do all of our ticket tracking through this system. All right. Thank you for spending time with me today, even though I'm not actually here. And I hope you learned something about our quality control processes. If you have any questions, once again, feel free to reach out using the ServiceNow portal on the CAD office website. Thanks.
All right, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Matt and James. There were quite a few questions, and that actually bodes well for us because we need to cover some of these to make sure that we meet the required time. So,
Okay. I would love to go through some of the questions. We do have one question. I want to talk about the portal real quick. Someone says that they selected the company name, but it said a account already existed in the employee portal. Simple solution to that is select the forgot password or reset password option. It may be that due to whatever access, you already do have an account for various reasons. And if that's the case, if you get an error like that, just reset the password, and that is going to send you a new email to reset your password. You'll be able to set that password and log in with your new credentials despite having an account already set up. So reset password or forgot my password is the solution to that one. Let's see what questions we have there, Brian. Will the QC process work on folders with ORD and OBM OBD files? Can I run my QC project in OBM OBD or is it exclusive to ORD? Our QC tools should run on all of the files in your project. So if it's OBD, OBM, and ORD mixture, the QC project should work with all of those. Let's see. Will the QC process work in project folder? I just answered that one. We answered it twice, James. Good job. How will this QC process work on a project with DGN and DWG files? It works fantastic, and it has for quite some time. In projects that have a mixture of DGN and DWG files, which is a thing that can absolutely happen, we have tools in both the FDOTConnect for ORD, OBM, etc. platform, as well as QC tools in the Civil 3D State Kit. So what you would do is you would run your QC project on your ORD files using the FDOTConnect workspace. And then you would run your QC project on your DWG files using the Civil 3D State Kit tools. And then you go to Project Validator and it combines those two. You saw how you can have multiple QC project reports for discipline level or project level. In this case, what's going to happen is, say you do a project level QC report in Civil 3D, it's going to create a QC project report in your meta info folder that's appended with -autodesk.txt. So it'll have a slightly different name. So say QC project -autodesk.txt. And that way you can have two project level reports in the meta info folder. Those two project level reports, of course, then will be your ORD project level report and your Civil 3D project level report. When you run Project Validator, it finds both of those reports, it puts them together, and it should then show you the results for both your DGN and DWG files. So that process, I think first got that going really well sometime in 2019. So that's been a thing for a while. I had a video about that. I'm not sure if it's still out there. We'll have to look for it. But yes, it does work quite well. Let's see. Saving relative path to reference files doesn't work when the other sub has saved their server path. The solution to that is to make sure that your sub is saving files with relative path as well. If everybody saves with relative path, it will solve the problem. If they are not saving with relative path, then the problem isn't our workflow, the problem is with the sub. I would recommend talking to the sub and mentioning to them that they need to save the relative path. If everyone uses the same workflow, it works. Let's see. Let's see, any reason why there are no missing fonts the first time the checker was run? Oh, okay. So James answered that one. Okay, got that. Missing lines. So yeah, the missing line style issue has been fixed in the last 10.12 update. If James hasn't mentioned that out loud, he mentions it in the Q&A dialogue that issue that you may have experienced with missing line styles is now resolved. Can a QC report be run for a project stored in ProjectWise? I don't know the answer to that one. James, do you have any insight on that one? Okay. James just messaged me. We will answer that at length in the Q&A document when I compile these questions into a Q&A document to post along with a recording of this webinar.
Yes, it can with the ProjectWise. It just has to be copied down to the local computer.
Okay. You copy it down from ProjectWise to the local computer to run the QC project, and then you can just upload that back up into ProjectWise. Can a rule standard be made for the SRCC DGN? Some districts are requiring this to be delivered in the permits folder. There's currently no valid file name for this type of file. Huh. Interesting. I will do some research on that. And there were bloopers in my video. There's certainly going to be bloopers when I'm speaking off the cuff. That was with using a script. As far as creating a ruler standard for the SRC CDGNs that are being required by some of the districts, we need to mention that at the next CAD managers meeting and talk about that with the districts, and then we will find a solution. I was unaware of that, so therefore I was unaware of the problem. So thank you for sharing that, Eddie. That's helpful information to have. I'm going to mention that at the next CAD managers meeting. Any other questions? What questions do we have? If you have further questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A. We're going to be here to go over those. Let me double check and check a couple other things real quick. Okay. Just want to go over, double check where we're posting these webinars so make sure I give you the correct location. Brian, do you know exactly where we're posting these webinars when they are finished? I know I still need to send the last webinar over to be posted, but are we posting it on the same?
Yeah, we're posting it on our website
page.
Yeah, here, let me see if I can. We'll just come over here. When you come to the CAD website, and then we go down here to training. And then, no, sorry, go back. We go to webinars. Sorry, there it is.
There we go.
CAD webinars. It's right on the front. And of course, I am a little behind as well. This is the third one. So what do we got here? And this one's posted.
Yes.
There's yours. This is the one we did last week, and this is the one we did today. So these three. You just got to scroll down just a little bit to see the 2024 CAD webinar series. And then all of these will be posted along with the QAs so there's a little bit of catch up that we have to do. And a lot of that is on me. Apologies, everyone. I will get you there. I'm slow, but I'll get you there.
Some of that's on me too, so I'll take. Is there any different requirement for the compliances of the 3D files? To the best of my knowledge, we should have rule files for the 3D files for which rule files are necessary. I'm trying to remember. I think there's been some issues with people using the XML naming convention to name some DGNs, and that's been kicked back by QC, but that's a workflow issue more so than a programmatic issue. So I believe that all of our 3D files are either accommodated by QC, or I think there's I can't recall if iModels or something that get kicked back, but everyone should by now know the things that if they do get kicked back should be passed anyways. I could explain that at length. But yeah, the answer is everything should be have a rule file associated with it, including the 3 deliverables. Questions do you have? Okay. Looks like we're running up against the hour pretty well.
Yeah. If you're good with that and there are no further questions, this is your last chance to go ahead and type it on in there. But I will show our obligatory safety message. Put it down. That's the law. At least here in Florida, I do believe. No text, no call, no nothing. It's not worth losing your life over. Please don't do that. That infuriates me driving and seeing somebody just scrolling along as they're driving down the road. So please don't do that. And Matt, James, I'll turn it over to you to say your final goodbyes, and then we'll just close this right on out.
All righty. Well, I do appreciate you all spending the morning here with us today. And of course, if you do need support, remember that you can go to that website address right there, and there will be the support portal under CAD support request or request CAD support, one or the other. I can't recall which one it is. The one that has the word request in it and support. Click on that link and sign up for our portal. That's the best way for you to get support from us. We are tracking our tickets that way. If you end up emailing us or calling us directly, we will likely tell you that the best way to get a hold of us is through that portal, because it's automated and sends notifications to everyone, keeps everyone posted on the progress of their support calls. That way we can schedule Teams meetings and reply to you that way. So check out that support portal. If you're not signed up for ServiceNow, get signed up there on our website, and we'll be able to provide support for you. Anyways, thanks again for spending the morning with us. We hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.